we have to talk about this because it is by far the biggest thing going on in the world of video games in the past week. Dew Michaels will certainly be able to share his input as well on this, but yeah, anybody chime in. Before we get into the news, yes,
Yeah,
Dew?
I can't wait to hear how bad this game sucks.
This party sucks. As you know, Cyberpunk 2077 from CD Projekt Red has released. It's been out. It's great, Slicer. It's been out for a little while now, and the reception has not been good, and the reaction from people has not been good. But the reaction from platform holders and the developer has been not good as well. Whoa! It's been a giant mess. Ooh, Alawolf says cyberpunked. It is, for those who don't know, which I'm sure is no one, I'll do a quick recap. The game came out. If you don't know about the game or if you haven't followed the game, it's been delayed multiple times, but they finally released it.
The game is not fun.
I wonder if Reggie's playing it. So anyway, the game came out. It is very, very buggy, extremely buggy. Crashes, bugs that ruin progress, bugs that pop up just during regular gameplay. Things don't work. This is far beyond a game that has some glitches and, whatever.
Also, the game's been in development for like 8 years now, right?
Yeah, and 8 years is an understatement. Like, we learned about it 8 years ago, but they obviously started work on it before that, so it's 8+. Yeah, and it clearly wasn't ready. I would say I have been playing the game. I would say from what I've played, the game is very clearly in an unfinished state. I don't think broken is fair because it is broken, but I think the brokenness comes from it being unfinished. It feels like a game that's not complete yet. I've played many games in early access that felt way more finished than this game does. So obviously people got it. And there's bugs and issues across all versions of the game, but those on PC seem to be having the best time with it, but they're not without their issues. But when it comes to base Xbox One and PS4 players, it's been a nightmare of a time for those people. And even those playing on PS5 and Xbox Series X, because there is no PS5 or Xbox Series X version yet, and there's no update specifically for those platforms yet. That's coming in the new year. It's just the extra hardware of those platforms will improve the improved hardware will improve the frame rate, but it's having issues everywhere. And people automatically were like, this is not right. This is broken. I want my money back. And it wasn't just like a couple people. It was a lot. And in an unprecedented move, I don't think I have ever seen this before. I have tried to think of a situation where this has happened, and I read into it, and I can't find anything. Sony is giving full refunds for the game, digital, and they removed the game from their shop. You can no longer buy the game digitally there.
That's like damage control.
That is crazy.
Epic.
Microsoft is also giving full refunds for the game, no questions asked. It is still available to purchase on their digital shop, but now when you go to their page on the shop, it has a huge warning letting you know that there are major issues with the game. Best Buy is doing full returns of the game, even if the package is opened. Obviously, it has to be open, but usually they don't do that. So you can go to Best Buy and return your copy. There's something about the digital ones as well. I think it doesn't even matter how much time you have played the game. You will just get a refund because at this point they know people just want their money back because they're having such a bad experience with it. You have been playing it, and you and I have been talking a bit about the bugs we've experienced. Do you want to call out some of the more bigger issues you've experienced?
Sure. Actually, something happened to me yesterday that was so funny. It was like the greatest hits of bugs all at once. Because as I was playing, I've been playing the game probably 40 hours or something like that by now. And there's a few things that have been happening throughout that experience. But last night, they all happened during this one mission, and it took me so long to complete this mission that it took all the emotion and the poignancy out of what I was trying to do in the storyline. But anyways, so basically, here's the rundown of how this worked. It was a race where driving, and I've got a passenger, and it's the future. So street races in the future, you're allowed to have your passenger shoot at people. Like I guess that's the thing. So anyway, so I pull up to the race, and I just bought this like ridiculous car. It cost me like over $100,000 in the game.
I'm sorry, dude. It cost you over 100 what?
Sorry, 100 eddies.
There we go.
I don't mind that. I think
100 Cyberbucks.
Euro dollars is what they're called, so they call them eddies.
100 Cyberbucks, says Kirby.
Yeah, but well, Raw Meat's gonna find all kinds of ways to like crap on like the lore of the game, and I don't think that's the biggest issue. I think these other problems are the big issue. But,
oh no, I agree with you. Yeah, the broken mechanics are the biggest issue by far. The other stuff is just being silly.
Yeah. So anyway, so I pull up in this car that costs like 120,000 eddies, and I'm like, well, I'm definitely using my car, not my passenger's car. And so basically, the object of this particular race was the passenger that I was working with wanted to get revenge on this other driver, so she told me to like stay close so that she could shoot at him. Now I'm staying close, but of course, I bought this car that for some reason the windows don't roll down. So she can't pop out of the car and shoot this guy. And the mission like never told me anything. So I get to the end of that mission and she was mad because we didn't get to kill the guy. So I had to reload the game. So I reloaded the game and I played it through the race a second time with her car. Got all the way to the end of the mission, and then the app quit on me. Like it has, I mean, and it usually does this when I'm driving, and it's happened over 20 times. Like I stopped counting after 5, and I swear it's been a ridiculous problem. So it quits, and it says, Cyberpunk had to close. Do you want to send a report? So I always send the reports, and then I go back in, I load the game up again, and it loads up, and all my settings are back to default. So I have to go through, switch my inverse controls, switch the volume because I don't like the music necessarily in certain parts of the game, and like switch a lot of like the graphical things I had to switch, and I have to do that maybe once out of every 4 times I load the game. But this just happened to happen. So I loaded up on the 3rd time, have to redo all that, drive all the way to the end, and then all that stuff happens, and because of how it went down, it was like it took the wind out of the sails for like the big dramatic part at the end of the mission.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I want to do it. Like it was clear that I could go back and do it a different way. And I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this race for a 4th time. Like I don't care about it anymore. At this point, it's like, let's move on. Get me out of this.
Yeah.
So it was just funny that like one thing after another kept happening, and it was like like I said, it was like the greatest hits of my glitches in the game all at once.
Like I had said to you, I've had my fair share of glitches too. I only had it crash to menu once on me, but I haven't played a ton. But I experienced a whole bunch of other issues, including one that I think is horrendous. The game is supposedly all about conversations you have with people and how you respond, and those impact what happens and where you go and what you do. And I've had it happen multiple times where I go to a dialogue situation and the D-pad doesn't work and you can't select a dialogue option. And sometimes the conversations are timed. So you have a timer counting down to give an important answer, and I can't do anything. It just picks the one where the like indicator already is, and that's that. Like I had some lady yelling at me, and this guy's got a gun to my head, and they're asking me what I'm going to do, and I can't say anything because I can't pick a dialogue option. So what is that saying over there on the laptop?
Plug in.
Plug in?
It looks like that's what it says.
Can you check that out for me? So it's been an absolute...
Start to install. Windows feature update.
Oh.
Hi guys, really up close.
Can I dismiss it?
It's pick a time, restart tonight or restart now. No. That's
This one?
tonight.
This one?
That's
Well,
tonight.
I'm sure lots of screenshots are being taken
There you
right
go.
now.
All right. Sorry about that.
Are you running the podcast through Cyberpunk right now?
Yes,
Kevin?
yes, I am. For some reason, I thought it was a good idea, but clearly I was wrong. So yeah, I can't pick options, and then I get forced into storylines that I don't want to do because I'll restart and the same thing happens again. So that alone is a major issue. I don't understand how that happens. Obviously, I don't create games, so I don't know what goes into it. But a whole bunch of other things have happened. I've gotten stuck on the highway. I've been stuck on a highway riding my motorcycle backwards, but like walk riding it, like doing the duck walk. And I couldn't get off the motorcycle, and I also couldn't stop walking backwards. So I just have to walk him all the way backwards to a loading point where it reloads, and then I can finally get off the bike. I'm playing on PS5, Giant Reggie. Hello, Roth. And hello, I want to say hello to somebody else. Hello, Jesus. So, yeah, I've experienced a litany of bugs. The character AI, in my opinion, when you're fighting enemies, is abysmal. It doesn't feel complete. You shoot enemies, and sometimes they don't react at all. You shoot enemies and they die, but they still talk to you and yell like they're under attack. You shoot enemies and they will flip around in the air. You'll shoot enemies and when they land on the ground, they'll go to stand up and they do like a cartwheel. Like they like fly through the air to stand up. You have your AI companions that are with you and they run through walls or they run in circles or they run in your way or they say the same goddamn dialogue over and over and over again. What's the main companion do? What's his name?
V or Jackie?
Jackie. When I go on a mission with him, he tells me, no joke, at least 25 times within the span of 5 minutes that there's a camera and it's going to see me. And this happens after I've deactivated all the cameras. He just keeps telling me, he's like, watch out, V, there's a camera, over and over and over again, as there's bad guys looking directly at me and not reacting at all. And I can just walk up to them with a shotgun and shoot them in the face. And sometimes they die and sometimes they don't. It's crazy. I cannot believe how broken it is. And
the police system is ridiculous too. I don't know if you've had any run-ins with the police, but I don't even know why they're in the game. It's ridiculous. They see you, like if they do a transgression, the cops will be on you immediately. You can turn around and see them spawn like out of nowhere, thin air. They're there, and then you just drive literally a block and they're gone, and it's over. I've been chased by cops in cars, like they're on me. I see them on the mini-map in cars. I drive a block and then they stop.
Yeah, that's what people were saying online. The
point?
cops are completely broken. There's no they serve no purpose because nothing really happens to you. You can just drive away very quickly and that's it. They forget anything's going on. I told you my first interaction with a cop was literally in the first 5 minutes of the game when I was driving down the highway and a
doing 64 and someone laid a big one and blew me out the door.
A policeman literally dropped from the sky into my car. Like he dropped from out of frame into my car and I ran him over, and then a menu pops up and it's like interactions with the police are an important part of it. And I'm like, well, I didn't even see him. He came out of nowhere.
Call of Duty, bro.
Call of Duty, bro. What is that?
Officer, Call of Duty.
Oh, I get it. So yes, Aloe Wolf, we need a RoboCop. I don't. It's horrendous. And CD Projekt Red put out an apology for it. And they were like, I forget exactly what they said. Let me look it up because I don't want to mince words.
Yeah, I did watch your video about their quote-unquote apology, Raw Meat.
Oh, thank you.
Because, yeah, I honestly, I mean, all I've heard so far is that, the game is super glitchy, but I didn't get any, real details beyond that. Are both you and Do, like, Are you both still like actually playing the game?
I have decided that I do not want to support this, and I have opted for the refund option. So I am done. I am bowing out.
Okay.
I was talking to Duke because I wasn't sure if I was going to do it or not, and I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, this isn't how it should be. This is not right. And because of their apology and everything, which they say here, blah, blah, blah. First of all, we would like to start by apologizing to you for not showing the game on base last-gen consoles before it premiered, and in consequence, not allowing you to make a more informed decision about your purchase. We should have paid more attention to making it play better on PS4 and Xbox One. Before the game came out, they purposefully blocked footage from those versions of the game, and then they didn't send out this apology until... How many days after was it? Like maybe 3 or 4 days after the game came out?
Yeah.
So they had their launch sales, which were at least over 8 million. We know over 8 million for sure. And then once they sold the 8+ million, they're like, oh, sorry, we should have paid more attention to those other versions. That is such a load of BS. There is no way the developers weren't aware of the issues with those platforms. This is a statement from management, not a statement from developers, because the developers obviously knew things were wrong, and upper management was blocking footage of those versions because the game was made for PS4 and Xbox One. We're talking about over 8 years of development. The PS4 and Xbox One were the target platforms for this game. And they let the launch weekend sales happen, and then they were like, oh, we're sorry. Like I said, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission. So that's what they did. They just let those people bite the bullet, and then they're like, oh, sorry, we'll fix it. And in the apology, they're like, just wait, we're going to update it. And they're talking about how updates are going to come into the next year and everything. We waited 8 years for the game. You screwed us over when it came out, and now you're asking us to trust you again after this just happened and wait more. Do I think the game will get better? Yes. Do I think they'll fix things? Yes. How much? I don't know. But you can't ask me to trust you after you just showed me why I shouldn't trust you. I have no problem waiting for the game for it to be a not broken game. I don't like the wait. I don't like delays, but I will gladly do that over getting what we got. It's a mistreatment of the customers, and I don't blame the developers. I blame upper management. I know the developers worked their asses off and had to put in a lot of crunch time and now have to put in even more, and this is a nightmare for them. And developers have talked to upper management and talked all about how they've lost the company's good name. They lost over $1 billion in stock value. They went from being a beloved developer to this. They've lost any goodwill that they had. It's horrendous. In a week.
1 week it happened.
Yes. And developers talk to upper management, and things are leaking out because developers are like, why did you tell people that this game was in a complete playable state? That is not the truth, and you know that wasn't the truth. And upper management gave a very upper management response. And one of the developers, they didn't say who on the team, because they had like an internal meeting where all the developers could talk to upper management and share their grievances. And one of the developers was like, does anybody on upper management see the irony of a game about big corporations ruining everything turn out to be a game that was ruined by the upper management ruining everything? And they gave like a very, non-response response. So yeah, I want
to is ridiculous too. Like, there's a pandemic going on, right? And people, although not as forgiving as I would like them to be, people are a lot more forgiving and open-minded to I guess expecting like delays and for things to be like a little bit off course. So like, they could have just been like, oh, because of the pandemic, we need more time.
Yeah,
or
I don't care what your reason is. Just be honest.
Yeah.
In my experience, people are not more understanding during the pandemic.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's people like you and I out there, Mom Brain.
Yeah, I would say, the internet's always going to crap over everything no matter what. But yeah, usually the majority of people will side with you on that. They just remain silent. It's the assholes who jump on social media and complain.
Can we say asshole?
We just did. So yeah, it's a rough situation. It's only going to get worse for the next couple months at least. I don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, these are unprecedented moves that Sony and Microsoft have taken, and obviously, those two companies are not happy. Now they're processing a huge amount of refunds, way more than they ever have to do. And they had to change policies and put out statements on their social media channel. It's embarrassing for them. Sony said, like, this is not up to their standards of quality, and they have to apologize for a third-party company. It's embarrassing. It's very embarrassing.
Sony said this, by the way.
Sony did, yes. I give Sony a lot of credit because they were very strongly out against what happened and very strongly said, like, here's what we're going to do. Here's how you can get a refund. Because that's the other thing. CD Projekt Red, when they first announced that they were going to be doing refunds, the way they worded their statement made it sound like there was a special refund program. And investors got in touch with CD Projekt Red and they were like, can you tell us more about this refund program? And upper management said, oh, there's no special refund program. It's just their standard refund options. So that makes Sony and Microsoft look bad because CD Projekt Red is like, yeah, you can get refunds. And everybody's thinking, oh, there's a special way to get refunds. And that wasn't true. So Microsoft and Sony, because they don't want their consumers mad at them, went through and made special situations to refund the game. That was not the plan. And that's not what CD Projekt Red meant when they put out their statement. There was no discussion of that and no plans were in place. So they screwed over Sony and Microsoft in multiple ways. This situation is crazy.
I have a question.
Yes?
Well, first off, I don't know if, well, I don't know. This is going to get me in trouble. I don't want to say that. Why was this the time to put it out? What pressure were they getting to put it out right now?
Vitamin G, that's an excellent question, and it's one Du and I have talked about because they self-published the game. The only pressure to put the game out now by this deadline was from within their own company in upper management.
Well, allow me to share that I was listening to NPR the other day and they were talking about it, and they were saying how the gaming industry during the pandemic has experienced quite a boom. And so potentially they were pushing to get it out to like strike while the iron is hot, while the gaming industry is booming. But I don't necessarily think that this is the kind of game that is booming right now.
I mean, multiple games have gotten big bumps because of the pandemic. Yes, because more people are home playing. And this game was going to be big no matter what because it's been so hyped up. I don't know that that's the reason. I can't say for sure. We don't know for sure. But yeah, Vitamin G, I have the exact same question because I really think it's the difference between development and upper management. Upper management, I mean, they had delayed the game multiple times. So with each delay, consumers get more angry. Sure. Does that correlate to less sales? I don't know. Maybe, but I wouldn't say by like a huge amount or anything like that. And I'm sure those people would, on the internet, most of them would say, I'm not buying this game, and then buy it anyway, because who the hell's going to know? But yeah, you have to wonder why. This is what I was saying to Du the other day. Why didn't they, when obviously the development knows that they need more time, instead of continually delaying the game, say, listen, we're going to be honest. We need more time to make a project that we feel is worthy of your time and money. We will put the game out when it's ready. We'll keep you updated on development progress as we go. We don't have a set release date. But they just kept falling into that same hole, and then they farted it out. And the other good point is...
What hole would that be?
The fart hole.
The fart hole.
The fart hole.
Thank you.
The other good point is Nintendo has been in a similar situation when it comes to delays, because Nintendo often does delay their games. And as Du was saying the other day, Miyamoto roughly said, a delayed game can eventually be good, but a bad game is forever. And Nintendo will take their time to make games, and they're not afraid to delay them. They don't like delaying them, and they always apologize to fans, but it's to make a good game. And the best example of that is Metroid Prime 4. Metroid Prime 4 should have been out on the Switch already a couple years ago. Nintendo was taking a different developer approach. They worked with other teams, and Nintendo wasn't happy with how it was going. And fans were expecting the game to come out, and they're like, where is it? Nintendo put out a video saying, we apologize. The game is not in a shape where we're happy with it. We're not going to release it when we said we're going to release it. We are not giving you a release date. And they said, we want to be very clear. We are starting development from scratch. They scrapped pretty much everything they had for the game and started over with a new team and a new direction. And they said, we don't know, like, there's no information on release date right now, but we want to be open with you guys and say, this is what happened during development. We're going to take the time that we need to take, and the game will be out when we feel it is ready. And yes, everybody was disappointed because everybody wants to play Metroid Prime 4. And everybody's been waiting for that game for a very long time. But you have to respect the fact that they came out and said that, because that's not an easy thing to do, especially when there's no end in sight. And now with the CD Projekt Red situation, you can appreciate something like that even more. It's just that CD Projekt Red has lost so much in a week's time. It's unbelievable. And another thing I was saying with Do is they don't put out games all the time. Like, they had the Witcher series where they put them out, years apart. And then Cyberpunk was their next big game. So, like, this is their game for the next 5 or 6 years at least. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah,
Another question.
Oh, good.
And I'm not saying I don't feel bad for Sony and Microsoft, but don't they have some sort of quality control for a game like this, where it doesn't sound like you have to play very long to see that it's total crap?
I don't know the exact specifics of their quality control. They do have quality control, but I believe the situation is when it comes to first-party games and second-party partners, they have a much closer look at those projects because they're actually tied to them and funding them. But when it comes to third parties, they have to go through like a basic certification process, and the rest is left up to the developer to handle. So whatever the baseline third-party certification process was, the game managed to pass through that. So
They should consider revising that.
Yeah. I can't say that I've ever seen a game that has been this buggy and glitchy make it onto, especially of this like notoriety, make it onto their service. But I'd be willing to bet that they're going to address that and take a closer look at that from here on out, because this is embarrassing for all parties involved, whether it's the fault of Microsoft or Sony at all. Because now there's people online who are like, well, Assassin's Creed Valhalla was buggy and this game was buggy. They're like, what, are we going to have all these games not get released for years now because they're fixing things? And I'm like, yes, that's how it should be. Yes, you want to get a product. You want to get a product that is as good as it can be at launch, when at least it comes to performance. That I can't believe people are like, oh, now games are going to be delayed more. This sucks. That's so you get a better product. You can, without a doubt, bet that so many companies are looking at this now and they're like, crap, we got to make sure our games are in much better shape when they launch, because over the last few years, a lot of companies have released games in not so great states because they're like, oh, we could just put out an update or two once the game comes out. We'll take care of it.
But
now that's not really a thing.
No, like the culture that they're releasing these games into, like,
Hi,
do they
8-bit
not
Lego.
realize that, like,
They know the culture is complain online and buy it anyway. That's what they know.
okay.
It's pre-order the game, buy it, and go online and say, this is horrendous, I can't believe this. That's why we saw 8+ million sales for the game already, and people complain online. But we have seen the needle shift because there are obviously a lot of refunds going on here, and the game is very obviously broken. So I don't know, man. It's just crazy. I've never seen anything like it in the game industry, not on this level by far. We've had games that are buggy. We've had games that are broken. We have games that get patched months and months after release. But I can't think of a game where so many of your core mechanics are unfinished. Like, it's beyond broken. It's just not done. Like, it's not done.
I can see me. I mean, I'm having a better experience than you as far as enjoying the parts of the game that you can enjoy. But for me, it's like underneath this junk, I can see a game that I would really enjoy. But there's just so much. Like, you literally can't go 5 minutes in the game without something taking you out of it, whether it's a little silly bug or something bigger. For me, you can't go 5 minutes. And in fact, you're talking about patches and stuff. They put a patch out last night for it.
Yeah.
It was like 18 gigs or something. And I was reading the patch notes, and there it said that it fixes something that I was having a problem with in my game. Basically, when you get a call from a character, a little video screen comes up in the corner, and you can see the person who's talking to you as if it's FaceTime or something. But in my game, it's like that video screen is all glitchy, and I thought it was part of this mission that I had done because it would make sense. Basically, I did a mission for an AI structure, and it like I thought it infected me because after that mission it was like all buggy, and I was like, oh cool, like maybe when I finish their mission thread it'll like I'll get to the bottom of it and then I won't be buggy anymore. So no, that wasn't the case. I finished their mission thread, and that was never supposed to happen because I thought it was going to be like a I'm sorry Dave, I'm afraid I can't do that kind of thing. And it wasn't. He was a good AI, he was a nice guy, and he like didn't want to glitch me at all. So I'm still, every time I get a call from a character in the game, I still have like a fuzzy screen that looks all glitchy. And I read that they'd fixed that in the PS5 update and or in the console update, and it's not fixed. so I don't know what that's all about. And then I read the PC specific changes because they put out a patch for PC that's different from the console version. And the issue I was telling you about with my settings being reset has been, according to them, addressed on the PC, just not on the console versions.
Well, so, maybe by 2022 you'll have that fixed up.
Or by 2077.
Maybe it's the most meta game of all time, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
The glitches are not a bug; they're a feature.
Exactly.
I just want to point out that I have my issues with the game itself when I remove all the bugs and glitches and crashes and all that stuff. But I'm not going to talk about any of that until over a year from now, probably, when I play the game and it's in a better state, hopefully. Because that's not the story here. The story isn't how I feel about the game as far as the game goes. The story is all this craziness that's going on. And if you're playing the game and enjoying it, that's fantastic. If you're playing the game and not having issues, it's rare, but good for you.
Is anyone enjoying this game? I'd be interested to hear.
I'm sure there are people who are enjoying it. Like we said, the PC version is running the best, but it still has an inordinate amount of issues. Like there was a streamer who is saying that the PC version is in the best shape, and they still have had multiple glitches, but they feel like it's getting better. And as she said that on stream, one of the sidekick characters walked through a closed door and disappeared.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, like Dew said, he's having fun with it, but he is obviously a very patient man in this situation because he's dealt with dozens of crashes, issues within the game that ruin progress, multiple restarts. Like, these are not things you should be dealing with. So
yeah,
cats underwater.
Cats underwater. I did see that. A cat. He showed me. Dew showed me a cat walking around normally underwater as if it weren't underwater.
It was amazing. The future's an incredible place.
In the future, cats can live underwater.
Windows don't roll down.
Dead people talk. So yeah, we'll see and we had to talk about that story. There's no way we couldn't. It's one of the biggest game stories of the year, and we are literally just getting started with that story. Who knows what's going to happen in the next week, because it's an absolute nightmare. I'm sorry, Grimbles. I feel like you've joined us for a show that started off very serious when we usually don't do that. I apologize, but do you have anything to share about what you heard?
I'm just wondering if any of the designers are going to jump ship because of this huge debacle.
Well, that's what I think is going to happen in the next week. I think the developers are going to have a fight with upper management that's already going on now, and there's no doubt some people are going to leave this company because they've been under crunch for at least a year, and the game is out, and now the situation is even worse. They have months, if not over a year ahead of them, where it's just getting the game to a state where it should have been at launch, not even improving or adding DLC or anything like that. It's just like, okay, the game's out and is literally broken. Now we have to crunch again to get this while the entire internet hates us, and we're working crazy amounts of time every day. So yeah, there's going to be developers without a doubt that jump ship. They've been leaking discussions to press sites to share what's going on behind the scenes with the developers versus the upper management and everything. Yeah, it's a nightmare from every direction, but yeah, people are going to leave without a doubt.
Yeah, Raw Meat, I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah.
So I've been playing the Witcher series since like the first game, which was like, I don't know, I think that was like 2007 or something. It was a long time ago.
You and I have both been. I've been there from the start as well.
Oh, did you play the first game?
I did. Yeah, I literally upgraded my computer back then to play the original Witcher.
Oh wow! Yeah, I played through it twice. But anyway, my point is, I guess I've been following CD Projekt Red since the beginning, sort of.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, how big has their development team gotten? Like since they first started, like how big has the company gotten?
Well, with the original Witcher, they weren't really that big at all. But
yeah. Well, that's the thing, because they were like this tiny this tiny company from Poland.
Yeah,
they were like kind of an underdog.
Yeah, definitely.
My question basically was like how much have they grown since then? Like how many people are working for them currently? Yeah,
I don't know what the number is. I know between Witcher 1 and 2 they expanded modestly, not a lot, but they did get members. But with Witcher 3 and its success, yeah, they ballooned in the amount of developers there. They are. Let me see if I can get a number on Wiki. But yeah, it's not like 20 people working there. They have a lot.
I've said I've told you this a couple of times over the past week. Probably everybody in this chat, but I'll never forget opening up my copy of The Witcher 3. And there was one of CD Projekt Red's like yellow notes in there, but it was so personal, and it was like, thank you for buying the game. We worked so hard on this, and we've got such a team from all over that put their heart and soul into this, and we just from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. And it like kind of touched me a little bit. And I played the game, and it's ancient history now that it's like one of my favorite games ever.
Yeah.
And it just, and the amount of love they put into like the DLCs that came out of it and everything, I just thought they were the best. And then they put this stuff out, and then their apology goes on that crappy apology goes on the same yellow card. Oh. And you just, you see that, and you're just like, you know what? You feel, you can't help but feel a little betrayed or bamboozled a little, like as if it was all styrofoam or saccharin.
Well,
or
it might have been true at that time, but yeah, they've gotten too big. Kirby, I have an answer for you, and it's even crazier than I thought. The original CD Projekt Red team was 15 people. By the end of The Witcher 1, they expanded to 100 people, which is still very small for that caliber game. Now CD Projekt Red has
16 people.
They have 1,111 employees now. That's a massive growth. Man, this whole situation is crazy. You know what? Again, I need to stress, I am not bashing the developers of CD Projekt Red, because I feel so sorry for the developers. Yeah, I know they can do the work. I know they can make great games. They just were asked to do a monumental task in not a fair amount of time. And also, the Witcher series was fantastic. Like Dew said, he loves it. Kirby loves it. I love it. And they most recently had a lot of success with Witcher 3 on the Switch. That's a million-selling game on the Switch, and that came out years after it was out on other platforms. And they had partners for that, sure, but they did a great job at that. And they said they're really happy they brought it there. They found a whole new audience there that got to play it. So yeah, they had like the people that are on their teams are dedicated to making quality content and unique experiences. It's just that this was an insurmountable task to do in the amount of time that they had. They call it feature creep. A game starts development and they start adding in this thing, that thing, the other thing, and it just becomes too much, and they lose sight of everything, and there's not enough people doing whatever segment of a game, and the portions of the company aren't talking to each other, and things just go haywire. So
Yeah, it makes me very sad, and I'm sure it'll take a very, very long time for the company's reputation.
Yeah,
to,
it's not
to be repaired.
impossible. It's not impossible because look at what happened with No Man's Sky. That was a disaster when it came out. And those guys still now are working on the game, but they've spent years making that game what they promised it would be. And they've gotten, I would say they've gotten to that point, if not exceeded it. But it literally took
Wait, really?
years. Oh, yeah, that game is far and above
Because
what it was when it first launched.
I've never heard anyone like talk about them improving the game at all.
Yeah, no.
I just heard about like the fallout.
No. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, it's usually the negative stuff that gets more attention. And I'm not saying rightfully so, because it certainly deserved it. But yeah, that over the last few years, they've done a lot with that game. That No Man's Sky was actually nominated this year for a Game Award for Best Ongoing Game. That's how far they've come in improving. They've done a fantastic job. It's like a whole new game now. It is what they promised when they revealed the game. So they did an excellent job, but that has taken them years, and they no doubt lost millions of supporters because the game was not what they said it would be when it came out. But they took the time and they fixed it. Obviously, they would have liked it to be a different situation when the game first launched, but you know, they took the time and they did it. I'm sure CD Projekt Red can do something with Cyberpunk, but this is on a whole different scale.
5 years at least.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I can't imagine. I can't. Really, they have to fix the PS4 and Xbox One base versions. They have to work on the PS5 and Xbox Series X updates. They have to do all that while they're still working on the PC version. And then I'm sure they had DLC plans and all that. This is going to be going on for multiple years, without a doubt. Yeah. Thanks so much for checking out this highlight to the Go Nintendo podcast. If you'd like to subscribe to the podcast, you can check out the description below and subscribe to this channel for more podcast highlights.